The first question on your daily math today asks you to find all the factors of the numbers below. So remember, factors are numbers that can be multiplied together to equal a product. And these are really important when we start division next week, that you can find all the factors. So I want you really to focus on making sure that you're finding all of them. And also I wrote a couple more words down here. We talked, but it's been a while. Prime numbers are numbers that only have factors of 1 in itself, and composite numbers are numbers that have more factors than 1 in itself. So we'll come back to that as we find factors of these numbers. Okay, so let's find the factors of 16. To find the factors, I'm always going to start with the number 1. So I know that I can multiply 1 and 16 together to equal 16. So both of those are factors. Then I'm going to go to the next number, which is 2. 16 is an even number, so I know that 2 is going to be a factor. 2 times 8 equals 16. And then I'm going to try 3. So I'm going to write down what I skip count by 3s. Change colors just so that we know what this is. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So I skipped right over the number 16. So 3 will not be a factor of 16. So then I'm going to try 4. If I skip count by 4s, I'd have 4, 8, 12, 16. So 16 does have a factor of 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. So since I've had 4 twice, I know that's all the factors. The factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. It has more factors than 1, excuse me, more than 1 in itself. So 16 is a composite number. Okay. If I go to 29, I'm looking for all the numbers that multiply together to equal 29. I know I can start with 1 and 29. I'm going to see what else I can find that's a factor of 29. I know 2 will not be a factor. If you look at 29, it's an odd number, so it can't be split into 2 equal groups. So now I'm going to try 3. If I go back to my list of where I was writing down the multiples of 3, or skip counting by 3, I got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. 3 more is 21, then 24, 27, and 30. So 29 does not have a factor of 3. If I extend my list of 4s, I've got 4, 8, 12, 16. Next would be 20, 24, 28, then 32. So 4 is not a factor of 29. I know 5 can't be a factor because for 5 to be a factor of a number, it would have to end in 0 or 5. So I'll try 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. 6 is not a factor of 29. Let's try 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. And 7 times 5 is 35. So 7 is not a factor. We'll try 8. 8. Then 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. So again, we skipped right over 29. It's not a factor. I go to 9s. I have 9, 18, 27, 36. So 9 is not a factor of 29. I know 10 is not a factor because it does not end in a 0. If I try 11, I would have 11, 22, then 33. 12 more makes 24, and then another 12 makes 36. I'll try 13. I have 13, then 26. 13 more would be 39. So I've gotten, you can see that I'm nearly halfway to 29, and we haven't found a factor yet. So we're gonna try 14. Then it would be 28. So I know 29 can't be a factor, and we would have 15 and then 30. So we've made it more than halfway. We have not found any more factors other than 1 and 29. So we would say that 29 is a prime number. Only has factors 1 and itself. All right. So we're ready to go to 35. I know that 1, let me switch colors back here. I know 1 and 35 will be factors. 35 does not have a factor of 2 because it's not even. Okay, so we can check 3. We got our list to 30. So next would come 33, then 36. So 35 does not have a factor of 3. If I look at my 4 list, I got to 32. 4 more than 32 would be 36. So 4 is not a factor. So now I'm going to check 5. I know 5 will be a factor because there is a 5 in the ones place. So 5 times 7 equals 35. So now I'm going to check my list of 6s. I got to 30. 6 more makes 36. So 35 does not have a factor of 6. And now here we are at 7. We already have it listed, so I know that I am finished. I found all the factors of 35. Now we're ready to go to 48. I know that 1 will be a factor, and 48 will be a factor. 48 is even, so I've got to figure out 2 times what equals 48. Half of 48 is 24. So 2 times 24. Now I'm going to check 3s. My list only goes to 36. 3 more is going to be 39. 3 more than 39 is 42. Then 3 more than 42 is 45. And then 3 more gets me to 48. So I've got to count how many 3s that is. I'm going to switch colors so that you can see what I'm doing here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 3 times 16 equals 48. So I can add to my list 3 and 16. Okay, now I'm going to check 4 to see if 48 has a factor of 4. I ended my list at 36. Go ahead and erase this so that I can All right, so here we go. We had 36 at the end. So 40, then 44, and 48. So I know that 4 will be a factor. We need to figure out 4 times what? 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5, that's 4 times 6, 4 times 7, 4 times 8, 4 times 9, 4 times 10, 4 times 11, and finally 4 times 12. So 4 and 12 get added to our list of factors. Okay. So after 4, we would come to 5. 5's not going to be a factor of 48 because it does not end in a 5 or a 0. So next I'm going to check 6. So let's go to our list here. We've got 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 made 24. 6 times 5 made 30. 6 times 6 makes 36. 6 more would be 6 times 7, 42. And then 6 times 8 is 48. So now I'm going to add to my list 6 and 8. So now I need to check 7. We got to 35. 7 more than 35 is 42. And then 7 more than that is 49. That skipped right over 48. So the next number I come to is 8. And we already have 8 listed as a factor of 48. So we know we're finished. That one has a really long list. So make sure, that's why it's very important that we go number by number to make sure that we get everything and don't leave any numbers out. You should have checked the boxes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, and 48. All right, our last number to find the factors is going to be 50. I know 1 and 50. 50 is even, so 2 will be a factor. I can split 50 in half. If I had 2 coins to equal 50 cents, each of my coins would be worth 25 cents. Okay, so you can look at my list of 3s. I got to 48. We said that 3 times 16 earlier was 48. 3 more is going to be 51. So 3 is not a factor. If I go to my list of 4s, we said 4 times 12 got us 48. If we count 4 more, that's 52. So 4 will not be a factor. 5, however, will be a factor. It ends in 0. So 5 times what equals 50? I know that's 10. All right, so we can check our 6 list. We've got 48. So I know that 50 will not be a factor. 6 times 8 was 48. And then 6 times 9 gets me to 54. So 6 is not a factor. If I look at 7, my list went to 49. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 more than that is 56. So 50 does not have a factor of 7. So I'll look at my 8s. We got to 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. And then we would have 56. So there's no factor of 8. If I look at my 9s, we got to 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. Then 9 times 6 is 54. So there's not a factor of 9. Next I come to 10. Already have 10 listed. 5 times 10 equals 50, so I know that I'm finished. You should have checked 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50. Now, we took a lot of time going through that, but once you get the process down, it doesn't take you near that long, but you need to make sure that you go through each number, and that's where knowing your multiplication facts is really going to help also. All right, so let's check number 2. Number 2, you have the number 95,192. You need to round that first to the nearest hundred. So if I'm rounding to the nearest hundred, I have a 1 in my hundreds place value. I'm going to look to the tens. That 9 is more than the midpoint, so 95,192 is closer to 95,200. Same number, this time I'm multiplying to the nearest thousand. So if I look at my thousands place value, I have 95 thousandths. 100 is less than the midpoint, so it's closer to 95,000 than 96,000. And then the next I need to round to the nearest 10,000. I have 9 10,000ths. If I look next door, 5,000 is right at halfway, and then that 192 makes it more than halfway. So my 9 10,000ths will become 10 10,000ths, or 100,000. Next, I'm multiplying by powers of 10. 12 times 10 equals 120. We can see 12 times 1 is 12. I have 1 0 in my factor and 1 0 in my product. If I go to the next one, I have to solve for A. 12 times what is going to equal 12? Of course, that's going to be 1. 12 times 1 is 12. I have 1 0 in my factor. I need 2 zeros in my product, so I'm going to have to add another 0. So A is equal to 10. Next, we've got what times 10 equals 12,000. Well, what times 1 equals 12. I know that's going to have to be 12. I have 1 0 in my factor, 3 in my product, so I'm going to need 2 more zeros. 1,200. And then C, what times 10 equals 120,000? We know 12 times 1 equals 12. I only have 1 0 in the factor. In my product, I have 4 zeros, so I'm going to need 3 more. So my answer will be 12,000. Now I have a function table, or an input-output table. So I'm going to draw that funny looking function machine. All right, so if I drop in a number, something's going to happen to it to change it. That's going to be my rule. And I'm going to get a different number out. So if I look at my first set of numbers, if I drop in a 2, I have to figure out what could happen to get out a 4. So I'm just thinking here, I could do 2 plus 5. That would get me 7. So I'm going to check and see if that will work for my next line. If I drop in a 4 and I add 5, 4 plus 5 equals 9. That's not 13. So that's not going to work. So I'm back to the drawing board. I've got to figure out what I can do. Okay, I know my number's getting bigger, so I'm either going to add or multiply. I tried to add. That didn't work. So I'm going to multiply. 2 times what equals 7? 2 times nothing equals 7, but I could do 2 times 3. That would get me 6. Then I could add 1. So maybe my rule is multiply by 3 and add 1. Let's try that. If I drop in a 4, if I do 4 times 3, that gets me to 12. Plus 1 would get me 13 out. Okay, that works. Let's try it again with the next row. If I did 6 times 3, 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 more equals 19. That works. So now I've got to find what's missing, or the value of A. So I'm going to drop in an 8. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. A equals 25. So my rule is multiply by 3 and add 1. And the last one, I'm converting meters to centimeters. Remember, centimeters has that prefix cent. And cent means 100. So it takes 100 little centimeters to make 1 meter. So to find how many centimeters are in 4 meters, I'll multiply 4 times 100, and that is 400. So A equals 400. 600 centimeters equals how many meters? So to go from small centimeters to bigger meters, I'm going to divide. 600 divided by 100 equals 6. B equals 6.